sana ang haba ng kamay ko na iabot upang tulungan yung mga nalulunod, nahihirapan. At ang nais lamang ay mabuhay kamukha namin sa piling ng kanilang inang bayan.
Madam Marcos, Mrs. Marcos, the Philippine Consul General here in Hawaii, Tomas Badi Gomez, has called you vicious liars and accused you of exaggerating the real condition of President Marcos in order to gain political leverage in your bid to return to the Philippines just to escape U.S. justice. Why do you think he is so violently opposed to your return?
Unang-una, poor Body is only the mouthpiece of the government in the Philippines, and he has to earn for a living. And as for exaggerations and lies, I think the 7 months of Ferdinand in the ICU and the many operations and the many testimonies of the doctors and everybody in the hospital, I think do know how gravely ill Ferdinand. We do not have to exaggerate. The truth is grave enough, is serious enough. We do not have to exaggerate nor tell lies.
How is your family, your children and your grandchildren taking all of this? By the way, how are they? And do you long for the time that you can all be together at least once in a while?
Oh, that's my prayer that one day our family will be one, united and together in peace in our beloved country. And I look at the children. They have gone through so much. They've been so deprived. When they were in the Philippines, they were also most deprived. People looked at them like they were enjoying a lot of privileges, and yet the children were really deprived of their parents who were in service for the country. But the children came out learning lessons from it, that it's not only service in life, it's not only service for one's family, but service for the country. And they have taken this in this light, and now I am of greater admiration and respect for my children, who has come out of this with flying colors. I draw now strength, inspiration, not only from Ferdinand's strength of spirit in his sick bed, but especially from my children, who has been so admirable, so strong, and so loving and inspiring to both of us. I have never thought that my children were this wonderful and this beautiful. In fact, it is now my children who is taking care of the president and me. And to them, I wish I had given more time, but it seems that the Lord has taken care of that, and I have wonderful children, and I am so proud of all of them.
I have to ask you two very difficult questions, and I hope you don't mind answering them. The first difficult question is, the doctors at St. Francis Medical have pronounced that the condition of President Marcos remains critical and that the prognosis for his recovery is poor. In the event that the inevitable happens, God forbid, and the Philippine government allows you and your family to return to the Philippines, but with the strict condition that you leave the country immediately after his burial, would you comply?
I will obey, or I will accept any condition, provided they give Ferdinand his last wish to live and die in his motherland.
The second difficult question, because of the time being inappropriate, is, do you have any political ambitions for yourself? What if the political opposition in the Philippines urges you to run in 1992? What would your reply be?
Once again, you know, Ferdinand has long taught all of us, the members of his family, that to be in public life is a matter of destiny, that is not for one to decide. You can only decide whether you will serve or not. And in my case, I would really love to serve in a private capacity. That way I have more freedom and I will have more credibility. But my priority obsession, and my obsession right now, is really to get my family together in the Philippines. This is my obsession. We have never been, there was never a need for any of the Marcoses to serve the Filipino people and the country. We are we're always ready to offer our lives. We were taught by Ferdinand not only to give our lives, our fortune, but our sacred honor for the survival of our country. In fact, Ferdinand warned us that when he proclaimed martial law. He told his family, now that I am to proclaim martial law for the survival of the Republic of the Philippines. Remember, my family, he said to his family, that with this we may have not only to offer life, fortune, but our sacred honor. So to serve the Filipino people is always a privilege. And besides, we have been so privileged already. So kung kami man ay maglilingkod sa aming bayan, ay bilang utang na loob at pasasalamat na lamang. Hindi na kami kailangan manungkulan pa. Ang pinakamasarap sa isang buhay ng tao ay makapagbigay, makapagmahal, lalo na sa inang bayan.
Would you like to address yourself and give any special messages to the people in government in the Philippines, as well as to the Filipino people in general, with regards to the state of health of President Marcos, as well as your desire to return to the Philippines?
Binabati ko ang mga ina, mga kababaihan. Sa mga araw na ito, lalong-lalo na yung ating inang bayan ay nanganganib. Sapagkat napakasakit ng isang ina na mapalayo sa kanyang mga anak, sa kanyang mga mahal sa buhay. Napakasakit sa isang babae na makita ang kanyang mahal sa buhay, kakabiyak, ay may sakit, malubha, at ang hinihiling lamang ay makita man lang ang kanyang inang bayan bago siya mapatiran ng buhay. At itong pangyayari kay Imelda ay aking ipinagdadasal na sana dito na lamang ito, na hindi na mangyari sa kanino mang ina, hindi na mangyari sa kanino mang mamamayan ng ating bansa na dumanas ng ganitong hirap, ganitong pagdurusa, na isang hapding hindi mo malamang kung saan nandun ang sakit. Sa paningin mo, masakit tingnan na hindi pala iyong mahal na bayan. Kahit na ang mga nadidinig mong mga kanta, hindi kanta ng iyong sariling lahi. At saan ka man tumingin, hindi mo makita yung iyong mga kapatid, kapwa, mga kababayan. At ang pinakamahirap ay maranasan na ikaw ay manirahan sa isang lupang banyaga, hindi mo makamtan ang buhay, survival, sapagkat hindi ka binigyan ng kalayaan, hindi ka binigyan ng katarungan. At sa katapusan, it is a matter of dignity. Human dignity. Lalo na ang mahirap, ubarang ka man ang lahat, pero man lang maiwan sa iyo ang iyong dangal, your dignity. Kaya, nung ako'y nandoon sa Nueva York, at doon ako inabla sa harap ng tao, malamig ang panahon, ako'y sumuot ng ating suot, ang ating national dress, ang terno, upang ipakita sa buong madla na ako'y Pilipino, taas noo kahit kanino. At ako'y walang kasalanan, kung meron man ako kasalanan, sa aking kapwa, sapagkat ibinigay ko lahat ang nasa aking isipan sa aking mga gawain, at binigay ko lahat ang nasa aking damdamin sa aking bayan at sa aking kapwa. Yun ang aking kasalanan, ibinigay kong lahat. Pero kung yun ang kasalanan, Diyos ang may alam, ginawa ko yun sapagkat mahal ko ang aking kapwa at ang bayan kong, ang aking inang bayan, ang Republica ng Pilipinas. Kaya, mga ina, hinihiling ko sa inyong lahat, tayong magkaisa-isa at magkabuklod-buklod, na hindi na ito mangyayari ni kanino man, sa kanino man. Let this never happen to anyone, to any Filipino, to a mother, to a wife, to a citizen, to lose their freedom, to lose justice and their human rights, to all of this that will bring peace, fulfillment, and happiness to everyone. Kaya manindigan tayo. Manindigan tayo, magkaisa-isa tayo, magkabuklod-buklod. Hindi sa paraan ng sandata, hindi paraan ng sigawan o galitan. Magkaisa-isa tayo bilang isang lahi na merong cultural genesis na ang mga kababaihan ay dapat manindigan kung anong maganda sa gawain, sa isipan. At iparaan natin ito sa magandang paraan. Ibigay natin pagmamahal, magandang mga gawa. Ipakita natin sa sino man ang kalaban ng kung anong maigi at anong makadiyos, makabayan at makatao. Manindigan tayo lahat. Tayo ngayon ay manindigan. At ipakita natin ang ating katungkulan, our role as women, to do what is right, beautifully, and to feel right by giving love, giving beauty, because in the end, it is beauty and love that will conquer all. Sapagkat ngayon, sa mga araw na ito, palakasan, arms race, super strength, super power. Kailangan ito ngayon ibalanse ng magandang paraan, magandang damdamin. Dito magwawagi ang lahat. Sapagkat alam natin na ang may kapal ay ang magwawagi at ang mahusay ay magtatagumpay. Sa inyong lahat, malayo man kami sa inyo, ngunit ang aming damdamin, ang aming isipan, at kami ay naririyan sa inyong tabi. Hindi kami napalayo, lalo ngang mas malapit kami sa inyo. Malayo tayo lamang sa mga kapagkat itong dagat na malaking Pasifiko ay nakakalayo sa atin. Ngunit lalo tayong nagkaisa sa damdamin at sa puso. At ako ay naniniwala na sa madaling panahon, kami babalik sa inyong piling. Ako'y naniniwala na nariyan kami at tayo'y muli ay magtutulungan, magmamahalan upang idakila muli ang ating lahi, ang sambayanang Pilipino. Kaya sa inyong lahat, parang ako'y galing din ako, taga-Leyte rin ako, parang gusto kong sabihin sa inyo, kamukha ng sinabi ni MacArthur, I shall return, pero yung aking, I will return. Mga kababayan, we will return, and we will be there to serve you and to love you very soon. Mabuhay kayong lahat. Mabuhay ang Republica ng Pilipinas. Salamat po.
Good afternoon. Before we ask you the more important questions, I think let's ask you the most important question. How are your children?
My two sons are presently at preschool, and the older one's looking forward to kindergarten. So I have to contend with PTA meetings and things, but they're all right.
How about your own music studies? How has that been?
I have been at school trying to pursue the same career that I always loved, but these past 6 months have been a little bit too turbulent for me to continue, so I had to drop out for a while.
Do your two sons know, or are they aware of what's happening to their lolo and lola?
Oh, absolutely. They've been visiting with me here at Hawaii occasionally, but of course they haven't seen their lolo in more than 6 months, I think, since he's been at the hospital, and they continue to pray for him because they see me disappearing every few weeks. Whenever he gets very critical, I have to come over here and take care of both my father and my mother, who needs a lot of company.
How about Greggy? How has he been? Is he worried about his business at home, or how is he taking all of this?
Well, he's having to contend with quite a few problems at this point, but, well, all he really wants to do is have what's rightfully his returned to him. None of his business has ever had anything to do with our family, and a lot of it goes way beyond the history of mine, so that's all he's really hoping for.
Okay, turning on to something a little bit more serious. What can you say about the decision of the Aquino administration to continue to prevent the return of your father, whether dead or alive?
Of course, I think it's a little rash, but I like to think there's room for a change in mind and opinion. We still pray for that, of course.
Well, do you really think that there's still hope that the Aquino administration, principally Cory Aquino, might change its position and allow your father to return to the Philippines?
We're playing for enlightenment at this time. That's the only thing we can do, I think. She's said it so many times and repeated it over and over again, so I really don't know what else could do it but prayer.
How about you yourself, your innermost feeling? Do you really want to go home to the Philippines? How badly do you want to go home?
Oh, terribly. I was sent to school away, knowing what I had missed in the Philippines, and now that I'm adult and actually bringing up a family, I still want to bring them up as Filipinos, having seen many other different, cultures. But I myself consider it home, like I should. After all, my father's commitment was not only for himself, but for his whole family. And I don't know how to live anywhere else, actually. Since, remember that my father became president when I was 5 years old. So I don't know anything else but to think of the Filipino people and to serve. Although I'm not a very public person, I still think I can be of some help to the Philippines.
You are the baby of the Marcos family, after all. How has all of this, affected you? How have you really been affected by the turn of events, both politically and in terms of the physical situation of your dad?
Of course, at this point, I have children, which, despite the fact, whether I was here or in the Philippines, I would have had to grow up, as you can say. But more importantly, at this point, I think, is that my father is not well, and that us children have to take it into our hands quite a bit. We have to take care of my mother more. She has up till his sickness, always relied on him. And so we have to help her out, be it, emotionally even, because now she doesn't seem, without us she would have no one to lean on. So we have to think of that, and we have to think about being adult, which hasn't been the case, I guess, for a long time.
What are your feelings about your former friends who have stayed behind and have now started to move around in the society that they find themselves and have changed their alliances and friendships?
Well, of course, you have to understand that for some it's a matter of survival. They have businesses to speak of, they have other interests. For those, you can really begrudge them nothing. But for those who have just thrown their loyalties out the window for other reasons, I'm glad I found out now. I'm still young enough to say that I know who my friends are, and it's good to know before you're 30, don't you think?
Well, finally, from the heart of Irene Marcos, the youngest of the Marcos clan, is there anything you would like to say to address yourself directly to the Filipino people, the youth particularly, with regard to your situation and the return of your father to the Philippines?
Well, as you know, as I said earlier, my family's commitment to the country was made long before I was born. And I grew up on the same commitment. And in this light, although we are so far, we are across this wide ocean, we're really at the beck and call of the Filipino people. I think we can still be of some help, and if we are but asked, we could very well be constructive.
Are you ready to return at any time to the Philippines?
Absolutely. I can't say I'm ready to take my children and the whole, you know, with all the paraphernalia that comes with bringing families across the seas, but I'm ready to return that dimension.
Thank you very much, Irene Marcos.
Ako, Ferdinand Marcos, ng Batak, lalawigan ng Ilocos Norte. Inihalal, Pangulong Pilipinas. Magbibigay katarungan sa bawat tao at